Hello, everybody, and welcome to Stat Check episode 41, and only 40 minutes late. So, we're keeping up, trying to tie it together. We should have waited another minute just to get the semantic fallacy. Semantic field fallacy, one of the two going. It's one of those, maybe. Anyway, it would have been funnier. In what appears to be a normal thing this week, we're late for reasons other than forgetting to click the go live button like X1 did on Thursday last week. Thank you, everybody, for being with us. I'm Innes. I'm joined by Jeremy and Nathan for this episode of Stat Check, which is titled Oui-ly Wonka's Golden Ticket, which is possibly my favorite name for an episode yet, in celebration of the fact that our own Jeremy did, in fact, win a golden ticket at an event in some French bit of Canada. So, first of all, congratulations, Jeremy. Well done.
Thank you.
I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about Grand Clash as we get to it. But let's start with the easy bit. How have you guys been?
I guess I'll start. I've been doing great. Had a wild weekend of Warhammer in Trois-Rivières, or for those that don't know
Rivers,
French.
Yep.
Yeah, literally Three Rivers. Hilariously, there is actually Three Rivers Academy there. So there are some English speaking people.
Somebody really like the Wheel of Time.
Yeah. It's not even Three Rivers. It's one river that splits into three branches at where it meets another river.
Not even Three Rivers. That's kind of...
Yeah, it's kind of disappointing when I learned that. I was like, oh, I thought
river,
it was actually
one
like...
river 3 times?
Yeah. Nah, I guess it's not as interesting. But yeah, doing pretty well.
I mean, it's in Canada. Was it ever going to be interesting?
Well, it was a good weekend. Hung out with some friends. Bruno always runs a good event. Yeah, it was just a good time.
So the guy who played the Dark Angels Terminators.
Yes, the one of as I was going through my stats this weekend, at the end of the weekend, ours was one of only 2 events out of 12 GT Plus events that didn't use the data slate.
Canada just refusing, just stuck in the past as usual.
Sounds about right, though.
It's Two Rivers in Wheel of Time. I'm so sorry. I have not read that book in a while. Nathan, how have you been? Nathan, do you have audio yet? I'm stalling for time for you, but...
I can definitely hear you. Can you hear me?
No, you're coming through the wrong mic.
You're so quiet.
Bitch.
Nathan is also having an absolute time. We'll come back to you, Nathan. As for myself, I had a...
Is it working?
Yes, it's working. It's loud, but normal.
Okay, loud but normal. Great.
Go for it. I'm going to finish mine, Nathan, okay?
Just go, Inez.
As for myself, I had a fairly chill weekend. Didn't do anything too special. Went and did some practice games with Brian. Did some prep for Warhammer Fest, which is coming up next week. Also recorded the Alpine review session with the other guys from the team. So that will be dropping tomorrow on the Patreon bonus content. Otherwise, next week for everybody else. So if you want to hear more about our Alpine experiences, apologies that neither myself nor Anthony were on the show last week to cover it. It just, wasn't on the cards with the way that travel went. But yeah, we have a full episode going through that. So if you want to hear about the experiences of our team at that event, that is all there. And we will... So yeah, go check that out. It's a great 2-hour long show of us just talking about everything from the pairings and preparation and some of the highlights and all that kind of stuff. So if you're interested in the Alpine Cup, that's the place to go, because we're going to broadly gloss over for you here. Other than that, yeah, I was at the Alpine Cup, which we won. I'm guessing you guys covered that last week. I actually don't watch the show when I'm not on it, but I'm guessing you at least in some part mentioned it. So let's hope for the best.
We did mention and we did congratulate you guys on having
won. That's all I needed to know.
While we were making excuses for none of you showing up for the show.
Yeah, like being tired or still drunk, or one of the 17 other reasons. By the way, next Tuesday, maybe not here either. Hopefully Anthony will be back by then. What about yourself, Nathan?
I'm currently living proof that a PhD doesn't mean that I'm good at a lot of things, including how to get a streaming setup working on a laptop that I thought was working just fine for streaming purposes. I just spent 20 minutes trying to figure out why a laptop wasn't allowing me to give permissions to Chrome, and then found out that apparently at some point it had just been denied all microphone and camera access in Windows.
Oh no.
And I had to go into Windows' settings, apparently. This is not the first time that something like this has ever happened. I definitely have had moments in the lab where it's 3 PhDs sitting around a printer trying to figure out what's wrong with it.
Yeah, and just for anybody who doesn't know, to use StreamYard, what we do is we post a link in the Discord, which is just click this, you get joined in, you can put your camera in. I'm getting email notifications that you can log in. I'm like, Nathan, what are you doing?
I know, but it
like
has
every
my
other week.
it has my settings in it. Leave me alone.
So yeah, that's why we were a little bit late today. The other reason they were late is because Nathan got stuck at work. So Nathan caused us to be delayed for 2 reasons this week, which is quite impressive.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody's ever managed to make us late for 2 reasons before.
One for technology that is very not fancy, which is Chrome, and then I was late from work because I was listening to a collaborator talk about very fancy technology involving lasers, which I'm sure everybody would love to hear about, but not now. Lasers. Yeah,
Anthony's cat somewhere is like distantly, and possibly also Pumbaa's cat, which if you want to know more about, go and watch the Alpha episode. It's great. Pumbaa's cat spends a significant portion of the time licking his head. It's incredible.
For 40K purposes, though, I'm doing a team event with Chris and some other people from the Discord on TTS, and we put together some matrices for that. So we'll be doing that on TTS over like the next month, essentially. And I'm playing guard in that one with an entirely different build than what I've not typically done with a patrol.
You play triple command squad?
No, I'm playing a patrol of scions, which is something I don't use very often.
Triple command squad's the way to go for guard now.
2 3-man scout sentinel squads with hunter killer missiles because apparently I've lost my mind.
You're going for that alpha, bro.
Look, man, just you wait. You're gonna get charged by 3 scout sentinels with 3 techs. They're gonna just do terrible things to you or something.
Yeah, they actually do. It's disgusting. I hate that unit so much.
Sometimes, or they just stand in front of you and you just don't get to leave your deployment zone at all. That's also
or honestly both. Like, ain't nothing that says
it could be both. Could be all of the above. But that's about all the 40K stuff. I put together the lion, and got him ready for painting. Yep, he assembles so nice. Such a nice model.
Yeah, I'm behind on my Primarchs. I don't have an up-to-date. I don't have Angron or Lion. I feel like I need to rectify that, but I also can't be bothered. So
yeah, so I'm painting Marines this week and weekend, which is funny because I'm playing them in a tournament in May.
Nice.
You playing the friend killer list?
Yeah, I'm playing like one of the 3 Iron Hands lists that were proposed to me in between various discords. So I'm like assembling a bunch of Vanguard veterans with lightning claws, and I may or may not be testing out a repulsor just to annoy Innis. I don't know.
Dude. Why would you do that before the new edition? Innis. Just leave it until the next edition. It's not even good.
I just want to paint it. I don't even care about anything.
I did paint one up as well after they previewed the new rules.
Yep. Outside of that, it's pretty much just waiting for this edition to die and trying to keep myself focused on keeping up to date, because if I don't provide myself with activities to keep me focused on 9th, I'll just kind of like go take a nap and play Total War 3 and Chaos Dwarfs for a while.
Yeah, you're not allowed to do that. We still need you here every week and being somewhat relevant. So
I know. And as I get older, I've determined that I'm becoming less and less relevant.
Not to us.
Oh, that's actually the nicest thing I think I've heard Innis say about anybody ever. But yeah, let's talk about terrible stats for this terrible meta real quick.
Let's do it.
I get blinded by the sun setting in my face.
Nice. So we had 12 events this weekend, I believe, of which 10 used the data slate. It's a lot of tournaments. It's good to see. It's good to see that things aren't dying down as the edition moves on.
And we've been consistently having that many events for a while now. But I mean, if it keeps
Easter weekend was quiet, and that's been it for the past couple months, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
And actually, the spread on factions winning events looks mostly okay. We'll talk a little bit about it as we go through the stats. I'll start with the top 5 performing factions, one of which is a surprise, and then a bunch of others of which are not. This is only sorted by win rate because I like to just sort it that way, so you're all just going to have to put up with it. It's not sorted by anything else. Our number 1 faction from the weekend is Gene Stealer Colt with 15 players and 73% win rate to go with 1 event win, 2 top 4s.
Swap behind enemy lines, guys. Nothing changed.
8 top 10s and a 1.67 overrep.
Remember, Nathan,
Wild
that
times.
73% includes the 2 events that didn't use the slate.
Yes.
So if you take those two events out,
Oh boy. What's the win rate when you take the two events out, Jeremy?
75.5%.
Man, nobody believed me when I said somebody was going to hit Harlequin numbers.
Buddy, balance is like
Somebody-
50%. I don't know what you're talking about.
Somebody
weekend.
definitely. Yes, it is one weekend, but it is pretty funny. Their overrep also isn't like amazing. It's almost a 2, which is not balanced, but is also not madness. And they didn't win more than one event over the weekend, and there were a lot more events over the weekend than just one. So it's worth keeping an eye on continuously, which we've said about Gene Stealer Colt since ARCs dropped, right? And Innis did just say the major takeaway, which is just switch to behind enemy lines, bro.
Turns out it's really easy. You don't even really have to change the way you play that much. Maybe consider putting a third Acolyte squad in.
In second place is Ultramarines with 11
Lies.
players.
Lies. It's not a real faction.
55.8% win rate, 1 event win, 1 top 4 and 2 top 10s, and a 1.14 overrep. So it's probably just fine.
By the way,
After that is
I'm
Go
gonna
ahead.
keep doing this to you. If you filter that down to take out the 2 events that happened that didn't use the slate, Ultramarines drop.
Nathan, can we just
I
only
believe
use
it.
the slate data? Like,
where is the filter? Where's the filter?
like, come on, man. Nobody cares about Grand Clash. Like, it's not a real tournament. It was in Quebec.
Oh man, there was a filter in here. Now I need to remember where it is. Give me a second.
Honestly, the fastest way to do this is just use the dashboard because it's been updated and it has the filter by meta.
Oh, you're right. Look at Cliff go updating the dashboard already.
I know he did it within like 20 minutes of me giving him the data. But
I
yeah,
know.
so if anyone wants to follow along at home listening to the podcast, go to stat-check.com/the-meta and then set the meta to ArcZone 1.1 Q2 data slate and the date to 4/23/2023. And yes, Alex Taus, thank you very much for that one. Nathan, you need to meet Innis in person. He'll be nice, then regret it because it ruins his image.
Nathan's met me.
I've met Innis in person at Las Vegas. I actually think Innis is quite pleasant. Sorry, people. Innis's exterior of being a jerk is basically not really existent in person.
If Innis is abrasive or a jerk to you, you probably deserve it.
I don't know about that either. Let's not go,
Let's not go that far.
Let's not go that
You
far.
probably deserve it, or I'm very comfortable with you. Those are kind of the two.
Yes. So let's go down this list then in order of just the Arcs of Omen 1.1 data. I'll just skip over some nonsense. Why does that say 2? That's weird. Gene Sealer Colt is in first with... I need to extend this. I don't know why.
You know,
I'm just having
well-prepped
so many
machine tonight,
many
guys.
problems today. Gene Stealer Colt, it actually says have a 78% win rate on my screen
Jesus.
for just ARCs 1.1 quarter 2 data slate. Blood Angels have a... Why is it doing this? Are the second place faction with us above 60% win rate that I will figure out why it's messing around with my...
Nathan, there's a picture in the Discord. Is it easier if I just read them out from that and you explain the information?
No, I'm so tired of this just not working correctly that
So,
I just
Blood
don't
Angels
care
were in
anymore.
second with a 62.5% win rate, with 48 games played. In third place, we have Leagues of Votan with a 59.1% win rate and 39 games played. In fourth place, we have Azoyani, who are the best army in the game right now. That's just for you, Vic, with a 55.3% win rate across 89 games. And in fifth place, we had Chaos Demons with a 54.4% win rate over 60 games. So yeah,
60
the factions,
wins, 113 games.
Sorry, 113 games. Oh, I'm reading the wrong column. That's wins. Yeah. This is really tall. I don't know how you guys look at this many numbers.
Normally,
Why did
I have a
think that's better?
spreadsheet with all them very well organized, and I don't have to try to like retweak my brain to look at the dashboard in order to read it. And the dashboard is amazing, but sometimes I just am not that good at this. That's what it is.
So,
I'm
yeah.
just not very
So-
good at this, guys.
Some fairly expected factions at the top there. We have Teamster Cults, we have Chaos Demons, we have Eldar. Factions that aren't making up the top, we have things like Iron Hands, which hovered around a 49% win rate. Some other things that you might expect to see at the top. Dark Angels plummeted all the way down to a 45.7% win rate.
For Iron Hands,
Still 47 games played.
The funniest thing about Iron Hands still is that it's just base Iron Hands and then a couple other things like dragging it down real hard. But Master Artisan's Whirlwind of Rage is still at a 60%.
What was that, like 5
with
games?
a 29% of the games played, so 29 games. And then Born Heroes is at an 80% with just one person playing it. But Iron Hands base is 46% with about 53% of the games played as base Iron Hands.
Yeah, base Iron Hands is just not very good, guys. Or the good people aren't playing it as well. There's a little bit of chicken in the egg there.
Yeah, because you see things like Pure Iron Hands, which is 30 heavy intercessors as a list.
And honestly, power to that guy. It's better as white scars. It's way funnier. They can all advance and shoot.
I mean, it's the same story too, funnily enough, for Space Wolves, whose base win rate for Space Wolves is 39%. Because people keep playing base Space Wolves for some reason.
They just gotta have our Jack Rockfist and Y'all Stormcaller, bro.
Born Heroes Whirlwind of Rage is a 51%, and then Master Artisan's Whirlwind of Rage was a 70, but only had one person playing it.
Yeah, that's like Jaime style, which is very, very different. Very different play style. You're running a lot of more like the Melta and Scouts and things like that in that Master Artisan version.
Yep.
So rounding out the bottom this month, we had in last place Thousand Suns coming fresh off the buff to Abhor the Witch. With a 28.2% win rate across 39 games. Just, I'm sorry, Thousand Suns players. I don't know what you did to deserve that data slate. Adeptus Sororitas with a 34% win rate across 23 games.
Mm.
We have a whole bunch of Space Marine chapters, Black Templars, Imperial Fists, and Salamanders. Before our next real faction at Chaos Space Marines with a 42% win rate across 112 games. Really missing out on those buffs again. I'm not sure why they didn't get anything either.
The only thing 50
Heights.
for them is one person who played Black Legion Dark Forging for Chaos Space Marines. Everything else is 50% or below.
Yep. Running out the bottom 5 for major factions, we have Grey Knights with a 42.9% win rate across 63 games. And Adeptus Mechanicus with a 44% win rate across 42 games, which is actually fairly respectable for AdMech. Like a 44% win rate is better than they've been in a long time. So power to the AdMech guys. Like there's still clearly some cool stuff in that book.
And Chaos Space Marines still won a GT-sized event over the weekend.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not bad. Well, now I do notice one fun thing there though. Harlequin's actually below Drakari in win right now.
Yep, and Drakari took home
and 45% respectively.
Yep.
And now, one thing to note about that
is
that if you go and then look at the Asuryani numbers, almost all the lists that are doing really well, include a Harlequin's patrol.
Yeah, because Harlequins are now just better as a patrol than a main army because leaders don't have the staying power in a main army anymore.
Exactly. That and Desolators exist.
Yep. I mean, that 5-up invulnerable save and -1 to hit doesn't really matter when somebody pops, say, like Keen Senses on some Space Wolves Desolation Marines.
I mean, you're still getting lighted at that point, right? But
it's true. Depending.
Yeah. Anyway, meta's real interesting right now. Some stuff that I wasn't expecting to see at the top, like Blood Angels, Leagues of Votan as well, doing really well. Chaos Knights and Tau, both sitting above 50% win rate. Ashram Ultimarm and Tyranids as well. Tyranids sitting with 37 wins and 36 losses. I suppose now perfectly balanced. Painfully, because it's not, but you know that sure does exist. So
I will say that this is
a few weeks hold out.
Yeah, I would say this is a very small data set, and like if you're seeing some surprise factions in the top 5, I would just wait until next week when the data starts to aggregate a little bit. And
somebody
then
wants to spend a bunch
after,
of money and donate, I'll take them to Warhammer Fest.
Take what? Tyranids?
Tyranids, yeah.
I mean, you could play a Behemoth list. They've got a 57% win rate as Behemoth.
I didn't say how much the donation would need to be. That would need to be a lot of money, but that would be funny. Brian's in the chat. I rescind my offer. It's not worth it.
Cliff might also make good on that.
Yeah, Cliff's done some
Somebody will force you to play Imperial Fists or Tyranids.
I would play Tyranids 100,000 times before I played Imperial Fists. But yeah, it's good to see Dark Angels in the gutter where they belong. I'm very happy to see that. I won more events with Dark Angels than you did. Come on, man, back off.
Innes has decided that Jeremy is his Anthony today. Vanilla takes a break and gets
Brian's
replaced by
his-
Brian's
Jeremy.
a
who
lot.
I'll throw punches at, apparently.
Cover
Oh.
Poland for me, Brian.
Ooh.
There's not really a lot
I
to
lost
talk
my
about with
train
the
of
meta
thought.
as it is right now. I don't think it's very exciting. I think we're just going to see it pan out the way a lot of people have predicted it's going to pan out. If something really weird happens, then cool. I mean, we've got this meta they're previewing all the 10th edition rules this weekend because they're going to have playable games at 10th edition at Warhammer Fest, is what GW said.
I am. This is the reason I want to play Iron Hands the most, is that I can just be there and absorb as much 10th edition as I can, so I can feed back to not only Discord, but also to a private note sheet where I will be doing as much as I can to prepare myself for WTC and also coaching purposes.
Are you just going to be doing like Nassim's strategy? That's Nassim, also of originally Iron Hands and then Tau fame, and playing only 30 minutes of each round at most?
Well, I hear Nas is on broadsides, so we'll
back to
find
Tau
out.
fame. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
I mean, there's no Novacharge, no reactors in the broadside list, so I think we're okay. But
Or Nassim.
But yeah, like Warhammer Fest is gonna have a bunch of 10th edition stuff. Maybe we'll wake up super early or super late. I can't remember what the time difference makes it, and live stream
it's
again.
gonna be like 4 a.m. for you guys.
Whatever.
5 a.m. for me, 4 a.m. for Nathan. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
I'll be
Jeremy.
there.
Let's pretend we're young.
Let's
pretend we're young again, Jeremy.
Check out Snapchat on Instagram. I will have as much on there as I physically can over the weekend. I'll be taking a bunch of pictures and trying to get as much content up there as possible for everything I can see. I'm there for the full 3 days, so I will be doing as much scouting as humanly possible for not only myself but for all of the Snapchat community.
Yep.
So check out the Discord if you want to see if you want to get all the juicy details, because everybody will be in there in the Warhammer Fest thread.
Oh yeah. And Archon Rahal, how quickly was Nas back onto Tau to seeing the slate? The slate dropped, and he immediately posted in 3 different Discords that I'm in with him who wants to game against 9 broadsides.
I mean, he has also messaged me asking to borrow my Stout Sentinels and my GSC separately, so like we'll see. But
yeah, Nas and sticking to an army for longer than
the 3 seconds his 12-year-old brain is capable of processing. Yeah,
it's true.
All right,
what do we want to talk about?
Jeremy,
today?
talk to us about Grand Clash. Come on, you know you want to.
All right, I will. So this was so Grand Clash is, as far as we know, Canada's largest wargaming convention. I had never heard of it before last year, and it apparently moves year to year. Last year it was in Shawinigan, which is a hilariously named place. This year it was in Trois-Rivières, which is, for anyone who's somewhat familiar with Canadian geography, is halfway between Quebec City and Montreal. So for me, it's ended up being about a 4-hour drive, which is perfectly fine for me for going to a tournament. It was slated to be an 80-person event. It was the first year that it was being run out of this location, so we only had about 50-odd people to sign up. But the tournament organizer, Bruno, he is a good friend of mine, and he is the assistant captain for Team Canada. He runs fantastic events out of the Montreal region. If you're ever in Montreal and want to go to a 40K event, look him up or reach out to the Imperialist group. But yeah, so he was running it, so we were like, yeah, be more than happy to come out. He found out after we'd all signed up and we'd all started making plans to go. He found out that the convention organizers had put in for a golden ticket for the event. So we were like, sweet, awesome, chance to compete for a golden ticket. But so I started prepping for the event a couple months ago. Wasn't entirely sure what I was going to be bringing back then. I knew it was going to be Dark Angels of some flavor because first love, and if I can win a golden ticket with Dark Angels, that'd be great. Data slate drops, and it gets announced that we're not using the data slate because the rules lock was originally April 1st, then moved to April 8th, and they didn't want to move the rules lock again. Opinions vary. I think we should have played with the data slate, but is what it is. So once I knew that we weren't running the data slate, I locked in my list, which was 20 Deathwing Terminators, 15 Destillators, a Talon Master, a Chaplain, an Apothecary, and the Ancient, a unit of Infiltrators, and of course my secret tech, an Acolyte. which served the entire event to screen out my backfield to make sure that no one ever deep struck or dropped a pod behind my backfield.
And sometimes he gives up Codex Warfare by mistake.
Yeah, I made sure that he was always within 3 inches of a Terminator, so he never died.
Snipers exist. It's a pain in the backside.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, yeah. Anytime I was against snipers, you're like, you are staying in that ruin right up against the wall. I'll go through my games real quick because it was a 6-round event. I found out at the beginning of the event, I found out a few days before the event that it was best overall that was going to be awarded the ticket. Best overall is an archaic system.
It's a
at the best of
combination
times.
system, right, of sports painting and placement.
Yes, but not just painting, hobby, because there was a display board requirement on top of this, which, as we have talked about on the show multiple times, display boards cause issues.
This was an Adepticon level tournament and should be disregarded, is what you're saying.
The competition level was pretty fierce for general, because you did still need to score extremely well, because your general score was your Swiss score. It wasn't your battle point score, it was your Swiss score. So you get 3 points for every win, 1 point for a draw, 0 points for a loss. And that was 50% of your score, 20% was sportsmanship. So don't be a dick and be really friendly towards your opponents. And you got 20 points.
And that's why it's close for Jeremy almost not getting it despite coming second.
Just heartless today, aren't you?
I don't know, man. You make me start 40 minutes late. This is what you get.
That's fair. It's late. Innes needs his beauty rest all the more today.
Innes after midnight cannot be fed or turns into a
It's
gremlin,
self-earned,
apparently.
yes.
To go with old movie references.
And then the
before
last
Innes
30% was hobby, which was a mix of painting, conversion, all of that. So I had a few converted models. I had spent the better part of the last 2 weeks painting up the rest of my army to a better standard than I usually ever do, because I'm more of a it's tabletop ready, I'll put it on the table kind of guy, not a I'm going for best painted or best overall. So knew that going into the event, knew that I basically had to, because of the quality of the hobby there, that I basically had to go undefeated at the event to have a shot at best overall. So hence the knuckle dragging list. So round 1, I pair into the only other Dark Angel player at the tournament.
Justice! I bet that was fixed. Bruno knew what he was doing when he did that pairing.
Who was running a fluffy Primaris list. He had rites of initiation on his Gravis Captain and his Primaris Lieutenant.
Did he have like custom little nameplates for his guys too?
Not quite, but he did win one of the best presentation awards at the event.
Were his units nicknamed, like one is like Battlescribe roster sheet? Did they had he manually edited nicknames in lore?
No. So, and I think one of the reasons that it wasn't was because this was a WTC FAQ event. We also required WTC list submission. So there was not a single list that had lore or nicknames on it. It was
that's the only reason why that wasn't there,
I had a pretty good chance of it. So he was super friendly, super nice guy. I felt a little guilty for what I did to him,
didn't.
But at the same time, I also taught him a lot about his army and how to play it better. Midway through round 3, I kind of saw him looking around like he wasn't really interested in playing. So I asked him, like, would you like to continue, or do you want to go get some beers? And he's like, I don't want to cost you any points. That was his attitude. I was like, oh,
honey, you've not. You couldn't have if you tried.
This is a differential event. I locked in the 20 after round 2. There is no going back here. So we wrapped up the game, grabbed a beer, super friendly guy. Chatted with him a little bit more throughout the weekend. Round 2, I played into I don't know where he's from, unfortunately, because he did mention it to me, but I forgot. Someone who immediately started joking with me in French that he was going to get a private clinic because he knew who I was.
Oh, that's
and he had
nice.
heard me talking on StatCheck and Canhammer and a few other things. So it was just like, yeah, I'm about to get my teeth kicked in, but I'm going to learn from it. And he was running a not terrible Farsight Enclaves list. It was actually pretty interesting to play into. I forgot how scary Kayun can be when it comes to hammerheads. At which point I lost 6 Terminators to 1 hammerhead.
Oh,
wow, that's fairly impressive.
because he hit
That's-
twice with one shot
Oh,
and
there it
wounded
is.
twice. No invuln. 2 Terminators dead and 6 mortal wounds, and I didn't make a single feel no pain. So, sorry, 4 Terminators dead, and then I lost another one to the chip shooting from the incidental guns on that hammerhead. And I was just like, all right, this ends now. Desolators stand up, walk up from behind a ruin, kill that thing with your super crack missile launchers.
Fun and balanced unit.
Those things are so wrong. Yeah,
You
so we
took
played
managed
through.
to hit for choosing to move, like, but you didn't spend 2 CP to ignore it.
I did. So I could hit on 2s and reroll 1s. It was great.
Yeah, it's quite good, isn't it?
I did that almost every single game when one unit would pop up from behind a ruin. I'd be like, oh, so they're gonna be hitting on 4s now because they're -1 hit. I was like, nah, I don't need the CP for anything else. So yeah, super friendly guy. He recognized this is actually credit to him. He recognized how rough the match was going to be for him, so he selected secondaries and played the game from a I'm not going to get 20 perspective, not I'm going to try to win it. So someone who he said it was his first tournament, but he actually played extremely well. If I remember correctly, his final record was like 3 wins, a draw, and 2 losses.
It's respectable.
For a first tournament, that's amazing.
He does know the better way to do that is to like just rush aerospace target and realize and diving 3 objectives for decisive action, though, right?
So he didn't do the decisive action thing, but he did do aerospace targeting relays because he ran out both of his devilfish, threw a commander in the back corner, and said, "Aerospace targeting relays these 3 corners, 2 of them autocomplete, and you're not killing my commander, so I'm going to get 3 of them." And then he went for assassinate, which was the bigger mistake.
Yeah, you just dive 3 objectives on turn 1 with Wonka, and then do that 3 times. You can get 12 on it, and then like you're not getting 20. But
yeah, so he did get 3 points out of that because he. The turn that his Sunshark bomber came in, it lived on 1 wound. I shot everything into other things and then forgot that the Sunshark was there, so that was my mistake, and I got punished for it because he got a character kill out of it. But yeah, aside from that, he played the game extremely well. He was super friendly. Round 3 was probably the funniest game, but only for me. So I played into Domkrat, fellow Team Canada member. Innes would have met him last year at the WTC. He was our Grey Knights and Imperial Knight player. He was playing Space Wolves. He had 3 units of Long Fangs, a big 8-man unit of Desolators, some Wolfen, and then all of the fast jump pack melee units, along with a Captain and Chaplain support. So it was a pretty potent, pretty scary list.
no desolations though.
8 Desolation Marines.
Oh, 8. Wow, with 3 long fangs?
Yeah.
Oh, did you just not have like any Wolfguard or anything like that?
He had 3 units of Wolfguard, 2 units of Skyclaws, a unit of Wolfen.
Yeah, I don't like that.
And then a single unit of Infiltrators.
No thanks.
Yeah, it was an interesting list. He did relatively well. I think he finished 4-1-1 at the end of the weekend. And I handed him his first loss. He scored 0 points on Codex Warfare that game.
Brutal.
Because he killed 5 units all game. 2
In
speeder.
combat.
Sorry, 4 units all game. 2 speeders in combat. A chaplain in combat. And a unit of Terminators in combat. And none of them were done with units that were in the Assault Doctrine. So it was just that's awkward.
Oops, it rolls.
I kind of forced it because I threw speeders onto objectives where he had to either heroic onto me to deny the objective and then punch me to death, or in such a position that he just couldn't get an angle on it. But the highlight of that game was turn 2. He brought all of his shooting to bear, like brought in 3 units of Long Fangs off of the sideboard, moved his Desolator so that they could see my Terminators, put them all into my Terminators, and killed 6.
Now you're all within hammer and
the
distance.
other squad.
Average.
Yeah, it was not average. He rolled below on 4s. I rolled above on 4s. And at that point, I looked at the Terminators and said, that unit goes, tags those 2 units of Long Fangs, and they'll never shoot again. That unit's going to stay on the middle and score oaths for me for this turn. And then next turn, I'm going to move it up, res a Terminator, and charge your Desolation Marines on your home objective and get shock tactics on your home objective on mission 22, I think it was.
Which is also 4 bonus points because conversions of formation.
I held it for the rest of the game.
So he was even losing points.
Ouchies.
Yeah, he lost 2 points on primary from not holding his home objective for 2 turns in a row. So it was a 20. It was a very one-sided game, but it was very much an insight to this is why Terminators were not okay with free Storm Shields, free Thunder Hammers, free Cyclone Missile Launchers, and Permanent Transhuman. Yeah, but it's also why if you're running Marines, bring a Lieutenant. Because it's nice to have wound rerolls of 1 when you have all that shooting.
I do love my lieutenant. He's a good lad. He kills so many Baharoths. That's how I judge things now. It's how many Baharoths do you kill? It's like why Webbers are my number 1 and then that guy's my number 2.
Yeah, no, I love that. Round 4, I played into a local Sisters player, super friendly guy. We had met at a previous GT in Montreal. Super nice guy, but again, he knew who I was. He had looked at my list and just said, no.
Smart
He
guy.
scored. Pardon?
Smart guy.
Yeah. He was playing Valorous Heart, and I will say, Valorous Heart Sisters in cover don't die to Desolators.
I mean, they died to 1 mode of Desolators.
They save on 2s.
Not that mode.
Yeah. But the problem is that he was also running like 40 combat sisters, so he just couldn't clear me out of the middle. He would send a unit of every single turn. He sent 10 models that were buffed up by Morven's Fall into a brick of Terminators and killed 4 Terminators, 3 Terminators, and 3 Terminators. And every single time lost the squad in return. So, not a good trade.
Dang.
Yeah, so that he actually scored, of the games that I won, he actually scored the most points. Because Sisters just score because they still take Leap of Faith, because it turns out you just need to now discard one of your dice instead of using a few of your dice. And when you're not, especially in this particular game where you're not trying to make deep strike charges or anything along those lines, you're just trying to live. It's not that bad. And then
If you
take
play a
Shrine.
bad Sisters army, there are less things to use your Leap of Faith dice on.
Yeah, exactly. And then Shrine, he scored a 12 because I took it away from him at the end of the game.
And you know, just turn it into a Shrine of Mork and dive like 30 Terminators onto it.
I tried, except he kept slowing me down by throwing 10 bodies at me every single turn.
Yeah. And you're not getting like 3 6-inch consolidations off of that with your Chaplain. And
he was being very clever with where he would leave models, because I would never kill 10 on the punchback. I would kill like 7, and then a couple would run to morale, and then I would kill the last one with shooting, which is great for Codex, but yeah, he was very clever in how he played it. Very good at keeping me away from that objective, because he recognized what I was trying to do, which was shove 20 Terminators down his throat. Yeah, so that was that game. So end of round 4, and there's 2 of us that are undefeated. And by undefeated, I mean there are 2 of us that have a 4-0 record. It's myself and my good friend Francois, who we travel down together, so we know we're playing in the morning on Sunday. We rock up.
You guys did a 4-2 event format, which is frankly diluted, but I appreciate it.
I love the 4-2 format.
I think it's so much better, but I'm also an endurance player, so
and for me, I absolutely love it, because like by the end of round 4, I'm still vibing, and a lot of people are passing out. So yeah, and because it means at the end of the day on the Sunday, you can chill, you can hang out, you can chat for a little bit, and then you can get home at a reasonable time, even if you have a 4-hour drive home. So yeah, Sunday morning, we're rocking up the table play, and we're playing mission 11, which is Recover the Relics, I think it's called.
Draw.
Yeah. So we looked at the table, we declared our secondaries, we both took Codex, Oath, and Banners, and then said, I'm not leaving my ruins.
Does whoever goes second not just win if you do that, though? Like,
not quite, because you need to win by 6.
Yeah. You guys are cowards.
So we threw Vanguard launchers and Castellan launchers at each other all game and killed nothing. We each killed 2 units, which were speeders that we had placed too close, and then realized, let's move the speeders away.
Oh yeah, no, it's the Iron Hands player in that match. You just put your streets and straps over and let them die and give up 0 on it. It's way more fun.
Yeah. Turn 3, we had been shooting Castellan launchers at each other's infiltrators on forward objectives, which we realized was very pointless because I was just healing them and bringing a guy back every single turn, and there were
His
sticky
Republic doing
objectives.
okay, eh?
Yeah, he was just like, okay, this isn't going anywhere. And then on turn 3, I was like, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna move them next to the edge of the board and throw them as strat reserves, so you can't shoot them anymore. At which point he did the same thing, and we both just sat there going, this isn't going anywhere.
Yeah, and diving in the middle for your 2 at the moment points just gives your opponent 2 on Codex. So.
And a kill point.
I
So
guess whoever goes second gets a bonus on turn 5, maybe. I don't know,
Yeah.
man. I feel like there was play there. These are just cowards.
There
for not
could have
pushing.
been play there, but we were talking it out. Yeah, Francois just pointed out, of the 22 games that were played that round, 7 of them tied.
Yeah, we did that round 1 of Home Nations last year, and I think we had across 32 games we had 17 ties in WTC.
Well, we looked at it and we were
Sounds
just
about
like,
right.
I can leave my ruins and I can shove my Terminators forward and try to connect on the turn afterwards because I have to cross no man's land, and risk you successfully killing the 20 Terminators, and then I have nothing protecting my backfield because you're just going to come straight at me because there's nothing, like your army is now significantly stronger than mine. Or I can wait for you to come to me, which you're never going to do because you have run into the exact same problem.
Yeah, Francois a coward. Francois definitely has the advantage there. Should have gone for it. You can always kill him. You can always kill him. I declare
You've been
him
called out,
cowardly.
Francois. Whereas I took the safe thing and I said, I have bottom a turn. I'm going to score my 2 on oaths at the end of the game, and I'm going to win the game by 2 points.
I declare him a coward. That's fine. I'm okay with it. But it's whatever.
You guys can play at War Masters and settle it.
He'd have to earn the right. Let's see.
There's freaking a gauntlet just thrown all the way through the internet straight at Francois.
So we played it out to a draw, and it took 30 minutes to play the game because of how we were both cowards, but we both were just like, who cares? Because we also looked at the tables next to us, knew who our round 6 opponents were going to be, and just started laughing. Because round 6 was mission 13, Data Scry, and there were now 4 of us that were on 4 wins and a draw. It was myself, Francois, my really good friend and friend of the show, John, who was running his guard, and not so friend of the show, but a friend of us, Eric, who was running House Raven Knights.
What did you get out of that for the last pairing then?
I got the guard.
What kind of guard was your opponent running?
He was running Born Soldiers, good stuff.
To be fair, Francois is just there like, I table either of these in 20 minutes. Who cares?
Yeah,
you're just
and
I
I was
would like
looking
one
at it
of these
like,
more than the other.
Yeah.
The more interesting thing to me is what Jeremy got paired into, because the last thing a guard player wants is to get paired into Iron Hand's Desolation Marines and just watch all of his stuff go away from the other side of the table.
Whereas calc targeting can actually be sketch.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely can be when it goes off.
It never does, but it can be.
It can be.
Yeah. So I paired into John. John and I have played multiple times across various GTs, both locally and in the Montreal region. I've mentioned him on the show before. He runs an absolutely wonderful restaurant called Candide in Montreal. Super friendly at the table, super nice. Innes and Nathan, you'll both get to meet him because he will be at War Masters despite not being involved with the WTC this year, because he knows that it is the best play to 40K.
Him at,
yes, he was the guard player that Anthony played.
The exact conversation coming up earlier.
Yeah, super friendly guy. Everyone in StatCheck will eventually play him and just love him because he is so wonderful. He is always the greatest of sports.
I defy one person in StatCheck to make this guy a problem for you so that we can prove Jeremy wrong.
It's going to be me.
You'll be very hard pressed to find a problem with John. I will say that right now. But unfortunately for John, I broke our streak of him going first. And yeah, he was smart. He started most of his stuff off the board. All of his infantry was either in transports or not on the board. So I didn't have much for Desolation Marines to go into. But
not much isn't nothing.
So the Desolation Marines ended up going. So one thing that we recognize is we were playing on a WTC layout. It was table 2, which has some fairly aggressive fire lanes, which meant that I could move Desolation Marines out behind a ruin and see his tank commander. So popped the Desolation Marines into his tank commander, took it down to 2 wounds, which then meant that all the Desolation Marines shot at the tank, because I was like, you need to fail 1 Vengor save, and he's dead. And he failed 1 Vengor save and then failed the reroll, and the tank exploded.
It's just rude, really.
Which means, for anybody not following along at home, there's a wonderful stratagem for Imperial Guard called Vengeful Salute that allows them for 1 CP on a battle tank to fire on death with turret weapons, which you can use if you don't explode.
Yep. Because he was just like, all right, yeah, I lost the battle tank, but I don't really mind it that much because it's not good into your Terminators because it's a battle cannon. It's AP2.
But it Desolation Marines.
It would have been great to kill those Desolation Marines that were sitting right in my face. And the game kind of snowballed a little bit from there, because what also happened in that turn was I had started some infiltrators, my 1 unit of infiltrators off on the far right-hand side, just to make an objective sticky to force him to come out on me. But what he did was because of how the terrain was laid out, well, in this WTC layout, he had to put 2 tanks back there to keep them out of line of sight of everything else in my army. So the infiltrators made a 9-inch charge and tagged both the tanks turn 1.
Yep.
Didn't need a reroll for the 9-inch charge either.
That's the thing that can happen.
I do enjoy charging people turn 1 with infiltrators. It's one of those like secret hidden modes that nobody ever expects you to do when you pick banners. So I'll get them later. It's fine. Don't worry about it. I got charge targets.
Yeah. So the rest on his turn, he actually got surprisingly lucky, and 2 tanks picked up 6 Terminators. And I went, oh, that's a slight problem. And then they failed to kill any more Terminators for the rest of the game. They killed like 2 more, I think, the rest of the game. Because what ended up happening over the next 2 turns was I slowly strung a unit of 10 Terminators across 2 objectives with the Apothecary and the Banner, saying you're -1 damage, you have a 6 up, feel no pain, you're never dying. And yeah, I basically just strangled him out of primary because it was mission 13 and there was no way for him to score. He still scored, I think, 3 points on differential because guard secondaries are still pretty good. But yeah, the turn 1 charge combined with the tank commander dying, combined with the unfavorable terrain, made things very uphill for him. And through the whole thing, he was very pleasant, very happy, just a joy to play. The moment when his spirit kind of broke a little bit was when I made an 8-inch charge onto one of his objectives with 10 Terminators. And he was like, yeah, that's game. There is no way back in now. And it was true, because it was round 3. I took that off, scored shock. I was going to score shock once more on the last objective that he held in no man's land, and then the Terminators would just sit there for the rest of the game. All the while, Desolators were doing desolation things. He would bring Kasserkins in, he would bring infantry in to score boots and to get his Nachmund, and just get blown off the table the next turn. Yeah, Desolation Marines are really good, but also really terrible.
Doesn't sound right. Can't imagine.
Yeah. Meanwhile, so we played a full 5 rounds. Meanwhile, Francois forced his opponent to concede on the top of 2.
Yep, sounds about right.
He wasn't even allowed to fire his Contemptor battle round 2.
Sometimes you don't need to.
Yeah, but as he pointed out, when Eric did pop calculated targeting on his Crusader, it killed 3 Van Vets.
Average.
Yeah, that's what happens when you run Raven and you don't have rerolls.
I'm sorry, say that again. When you run what?
Raven.
It's so Canadian, I love it.
I don't even hear a difference anymore. I don't know what's going on.
It came across very Canadian, I don't know.
Oh.
Right,
yeah.
Let's bounce off. So, where did you end up placing in the event? Where did you do for best overall?
So I finished 2nd overall in the event. Francois beat me by 6 differential points. Yeah, we were the 2 undefeateds for the event. He got best general. I got best overall, and people have been told this now, including the 2nd place person. I got it by 0.6 points out of 100.
Nice.
So, Dom, the guy who I 20'd in round 3.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
And the most hilarious part about that was he was playing his teammate round 6. And Dom is an exceptionally good player. His teammate is pretty good too, but Dom generally has his number. So Bruno had already marked down Dom for best overall because he was going to get a higher score than me. And then they tied.
Oh, dang.
I felt just a little bad hearing that afterwards, but at the same time, it was
Win your games.
yeah. I mean, I also ended up being shorter because my Swiss score ended up being lower because I had the draw into Francois, so I was down like 7 points out of 100 because of the draw. So right there, if I had decided that I should take the risk and try to beat Francois instead of taking the safe draw, it wouldn't have been as close.
Mm-hmm. That's why you should just win.
Exactly.
Obviously. Just don't lose, obviously.
But yeah, that's where we're at right now. I am waiting to hear back, but I've got a cool plaque that says I have a golden ticket and a pretty sexy medal on top of that. So
Nice.
We'll add you to the group chat.
Actually, hilariously, I got added to the Canadian group chat about an hour after I was handed the plaque.
Nice.
Perfect. So congratulations. Well done on the golden ticket. It will be super awesome. Now we just need Anthony to win one. And obviously Nathan is probably not going to go to an event. So come hang out. Hey, look, man. Your Crusade League doesn't have a golden ticket. I'm sorry.
I mean, I've won a GT. I can win another one. I just haven't.
You've won more GTs than I have.
It's fair. I guess I'll just go win a GT just for UNS.
There you go. Go win a GT with a golden ticket so you can go to Atlanta with us and be cool.
Oh, here's what you should do. You should come up to the Capital Clash Major at the end of July, where we have 4 tickets to give away.
Oh shit, that is a lot of tickets.
Top 4 get a ticket.
He doesn't have 4 good players. Why do you need 4?
You know what the best part about this is that I already have a ticket. Francois already has a ticket. It's going to be more like places 6 through 10 that get a ticket by that time.
It's just nonsense. I don't know. If I can figure out time off, maybe I'll just fly up and I'll just hang out with Jeremy for a weekend.
You don't even have to do well at that tournament. Just go. You'll probably get one.
Just be a warm body.
I will say that Anthony did say that it was probably one of the most competitive but well run and best run events that he's been to. So take that as you may.
Honestly, man. All right, let's quickly wrap the plugs and then we'll jump into show questions. I'm going to do short plugs this week. I really can't be bothered. Hey, thanks for watching. We love you all. Thanks for being here. We have things you should check out. Live show every Tuesday here on YouTube, 11 p.m. GMT, various other times across the globe, 6 p.m. Eastern. That's the one I'm going to remember, the one I'm sticking with. We were a little bit late today. Don't worry. Back to normal time as of next week, probably. You can also check out the Discord, which you can get access to through the Patreon if you want to get all of our stuff early or chat to us or see all the stuff we're talking about at Warhammer Fest or hear about these events live as they're going. Patreon.com/StatCheck. $5 a month gets you access to that and all of our bonus content a week early. Coaching, you can check out stat-check.com/coaching if you're interested in getting coaching from either myself or Typhus, who is another wonderful player. Get in touch as we're coming up to 10th edition. It's a great time to get started on learning a bit about yourself and your problems and what you can improve on to make sure you're fresh and sharp. So if you're interested, reach out. We would love to have you. Love to hear from you. Drop us an email at coaching@stat-check.com. We have other shows on the network, Enter the Matrix and X&1, which are both wonderful shows run by Typhus and kind of Anthony. I suppose just Typhus now. Anthony kind of stepped away from Enter the Matrix. And X&1, which is run by Tim and Cliff. Those are both live as and when they have episodes. X&1 is usually every other week on Thursdays. Next episode should be a week on Thursday. The most recent one is live on YouTube now. And Enter the Matrix is as and when it happens. I suppose technically the Alpine Cup episode that's coming out this week, probably tomorrow, is one of them. So go and check that out, although it's not going to be under the same name. That'll be out for everybody in just over a week. Thank you, everybody, for being with us. We're going to jump into show questions now. If you want to get your show questions answered, the best way to do that is be in the Discord where you can get your questions guaranteed answered. Otherwise, chuck us a super chat in the Twitch stream and we'll definitely get your question and we'll fill in any extras if we have the time. Thank you so much, everybody, for supporting us, being with us. We have been doing this for almost a year now. It's super awesome to see the continued support. Thank you so much, everybody. Show questions. Let's do it. I'm going to grab a drink. We'll be back in a moment.
Okay. So expensive to fly to Ottawa in July. What's that about, Jeremy?
At the end of July, really?
Yeah, it's like $400 to fly from Chicago to Ottawa. The tracker does say the price is very high, but if it wasn't like $450, I probably would.
We'll talk.
We'll talk about it.
We'll find a way to make it work.
No, we won't.
Oh Lord.
I don't know.
Do the same thing with you that I did with Anthony. Pick him up from the airport, escort him to the event, and then escort him back with a massive prize.
Just
I like the idea.
yes, Ella Woozle, it is direct to Ottawa. It's a direct flight.
Okay. Third questions for tonight's show. What's the next event that T-Check will attend? Any team events we know about? I can do something in the US. I don't think we have anything planned as of yet. Next week it will definitely be Alpine. It will be definitely Alpine Cup next year. We were really, really trying to get Brian to payroll all of us going to Kansas City with a ringer to steal the golden ticket from Team Art of War. But Anthony was adamant that would not happen. And we were trying to steal Anthony from Art of War at the same time, obviously. That ended up not happening, which I personally think coward move on Anthony's part not to accept the gauntlet. But whatever.
True, yeah.
So no, I don't know what the next plan is, but there'll be something.
I mean, the whole team will be at the WTC, so maybe we'll do a little quick 5v5.
I feel like we're going to have more important things to do, like double fisting bottles of wine and stuff like that. But, again, to confirm, again. What will StatCheck do when they run out of Discord questions to answer? Stop asking questions.
God.
You can to John for super chatting with $28 for Nathan's plane ticket, I believe.
You can, if you guys want to sponsor my plane ticket, I will definitely figure out my time off to go.
And you'll get to meet John there.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
Sure.
So all you guys have to do, we'll put a little fundraiser bar at the
I'll
bottom.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
very nice of you, John. Thank you.
What will StatCheck do when our Discord question and answer? We'll take questions from the chat, the same as always, or we'll just stop the show. Depends how we're feeling at the time. Have you lads tried the Breaking Heads train layout? If so, have you found it? I can't say I've tried it at all. I'm not entirely sure what that is. Breaking Heads, I know, is a German organization.
They're
Sorry,
WTC style layouts. They're fairly similar, but they have been adapted for singles play to be a bit more balanced. I've played a couple games on them. God damn it, John. For anyone who is listening to the podcast, not watching a replay live stream, John has now given $56, and now Francois has given another $28 to pay towards.
I mean, it is Canadian dollars, so like you got to remember that's like £3 or $4.
It's like 20. It's like $20 US. So we're $60 out of the 400 there. We need another $340.
And now you sound like televangelists. Okay.
That is way
when will
more
Anthony
than...
and Nathan have math lessons? To be fair, I'm waiting for these as well.
I don't know. I can teach Anthony instead about random science nonsense instead. I might teach Anthony about pulsed infrared lasers.
Rename that on Patreon. But
it might just become I will teach Anthony random things that I know about science until he tells me to stop.
How much do we need to raise to get in to raising it to taking it? You'd have to cover the entirety of my Warhammer Fest event plus another tournament on top of that. I think could be
no, you already told Brian cover.
Yeah,
Poland.
I told Brian Poland, but Poland is going to be an expensive trip. So I'm like,
he said it's
Warhammer
not that
Fest
much.
Yeah, it's not that much for him.
It's a stat Father's Day gift. Yeah, you can
I can't explain to you how much. I need to just very quickly cover how much Brian spent for his Harlequins army. I'm not going to say the number, but it's an inordinate amount of money he spent for his commission-paid Den of Imagination's Harlequin army. Through the order that I believe it's the most expensive thing he owns, by an order of magnitude. So
Jesus.
So Brian doesn't operate on the same money terms. Okay, Poland isn't that expensive, and I want to win Warhammer Fest. So, Brian, if you covered that and I still beat you, that would be the funniest thing. It's not going to happen, but DM me and we can talk. Televangel's comment makes me wish we'd taken this to a mega church. I'm really glad we didn't do that. I did not have that long in America. And watching Anthony play Total War sounds more fun than doing that.
Oh, you sweet summer child.
I thought you said it was, or you said it was the most expensive thing you'd spent money on. I don't know, man.
Let's not do a deep dive into Brian's finances for our own sakes.
That's fine. It makes me sad. Okay, with the 10th ed indexes, how should competitive players approach breaking down each of the various PDFs in order to understand the armies and find the broken stuff? Is it a case of simply reading each army and unit type one by one, or is there a better method? All right, there's like 5 things you do when a new, that's a very, very ballpark number. But the first thing you got to do is you have to understand the core mechanics of the game, right? That reading the data sheets does nothing for you if you don't understand the context of the game you're playing, which means the first thing you should do is understand how the game works and what the missions you're going to be playing are, right? What are the functions of basically winning a game of 10th edition? How do you score points? How do you continue to win games? Then, with that knowledge, and it helps to read some data sheets as you're doing this, look at the cool ones. Probably, I would recommend just using the starter box as a great example for this, to just understand it in a smaller context. Looking at that then will give you an idea of what data sheets can do and what baseline, GW understands is the baseline. Then, with that knowledge, you take that into the armies that you're interested in and look for what seems above rate in your section. Then you'll take that knowledge and then you'll look at another army. And it is a lot of just, you're going to read all the data sheets, you're going to try and put some stuff on the table as quickly as possible and try and get a general sense for what seems better than average at things. And then within those spheres, you'll find the things that are better than average that actually work within the context of winning games against other things that are better than average. It's a really nebulous process, and it's hard to be yeah, you should just look for these things and these things, because what we looked for in 8th edition was different to what we looked for in 9th edition, because we had more of an understanding of the way the core mechanics of the game worked. 9th edition, I think, got broken a lot more quickly than 8th edition. 8th edition did get broken quickly, but that was because there was pressure on that. Index hammer was a nightmare. But a lot of it devolves into what is undercosted that you can spam, because GW have missed interactions. Anything that gives you action economy, so double moves, double shoots, double fights, move in psychic phase, anything like that. Anything that you can stack buffs on, so psychic powers that affect units beside your own, for example, might be something to look at. Double stacking characters might be a place to look. So anything like the lieutenant and captain interaction. Any units that are really undercosted, just that kind of thing. It's hard to give specific answers because we just don't know what the mechanics of winning games in 10th looks like yet. But usually fast stuff, action economy, and above rate shooting and combat is the places to start.
Yeah, that covers it pretty well.
And if if someone finds a move in the psychic phase for 10th, that is true, yeah. But anything that allows you out of sync, if Soul Burst comes back, just assume that Yunari is broken, for example. I know, right?
That's the face. There's plenty of good things that will be immediately obviously good that you can just count on, right?
Whatever's in the starter box that's undercosted.
The new Oaths of Moment rule for Space Marines is very good. And if we'll see if there are any limitations to it and stuff like that. There are some things that you can, there will be some immediate obvious things that are probably busted, but you'll have to dig probably a little deeper, and that will require
and we'll also
testing.
Have to see if Marines, that ability is busted within the context of the wider game or just within the context of Marines. Is being able to nuke one big thing a turn actually that relevant in this edition? Or are Marines super highly pointed to the point where they kind of need it in order to be able to trade effectively? You kind of get all these questions where we don't know enough context right now to make any judgments.
You're at 0.5% of the total rules at this point, because index
significantly less than that.
Less than 0.5%?
Oh yeah, there are 1,000 data sheets in 4K. We've seen less than 2.
Oh, well, I wasn't counting every single data sheet as a percentage point. That's just nonsense.
Yeah, well, that's not how the percentage of the total game of rules works, but sure.
It works for me that way. No, I'm just kidding.
The other thing that I would look out for is layered buffs, because that's the one area that GW has consistently missed on. Areas where you can synergize keywords that maximize auto wounding or auto hitting abilities, as an example. Things that bypass certain stages of rolling are always going to skew the game in one way or the other if they are not accurately costed.
I think Innes just died a little bit, but
yeah, he did.
Jeremy is right. Anything that skips a whole level of variance is like super powerful.
hmm
So like when all of the devastating things that let you do either critical hits or critical wounds and things like that are going to be very good. Like all the anti-weapons counting as 66s to wound on lower dice are going to be good. But the
Might be
things
good.
that on a
Don't
hit
have
roll
a
of
plus
6 count as like immediately something else are very, very good. Those things will all be great. And in addition, where it appears like they're limiting mortal wounds more, things like devastating wounds are also going to be relatively powerful.
Anything that's the only thing in the game that does something as well, always be watchful for.
Mm-hmm. The other thing
Cool.
is that you don't necessarily need to do all the parsing by yourself. Parsing these PDFs should be considered a group activity. So listen to experts like
Hey, if
Innes
you're
and
playing an event the
Jeremy
weekend
and
of,
Anthony
go and
and
just
stuff
play.
like that.
Just go and try shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, our plan is as soon as we get that index, we are locking down the store that we play at for a week, maybe
And we
two.
have plans for Stat Check, so we will be discussing the content plan for 10th edition over the next. We've already started working on it, so
Yep.
we have got some really cool things in store for 10th edition launch, which should, if it's about 2 weeks, roughly 2 months, roughly line up with episode 50. By the way,
That'd be pretty cool.
so yeah, wait and see. We've got some cool ideas.
Yep. We've
Okay.
got a whole plan. It'll be great.
Yeah, but then we have a whole channel in the Discord that nobody else can see. Okay, which long rumored but never officially released faction would you expect to see get a full release during 10th? We had rumors about Exodites, for example.
It's
Dark
not going to be
Mechanicus.
Exodites.
I hope it's not Exodites. We don't need more Eldar in the game.
It's probably going to be Dark Mechanicus or Emperor's Children because they're
want
going to complete the
those.
Legion
I want
collection.
Zotes. I want big, weird lizard centaurs to get a,
I mean,
to get a full faction release.
They could do that. We never thought squats would come back.
It's true. I actually want that fungus army where it's got the guns, but looks like actually a giant mushroom instead of orcs. There's a piece of
would be
artwork.
cool.
There's a piece of artwork in the core rule book, I think, that shows them off where they're just giant mushrooms with guns.
Well, one thing I will say, I do want faction Primarchs where you can just bring all of the Chaos Primarchs or all of the Imperium Primarchs in an army, and it's just a legal faction with special rules. Because the fact that I can't play Godwalker right now makes me upset.
That would be very interesting.
Okay. Luhan asks, my team has been learning Teams 40k by having small scrims. However, our matrices tend to be horrifically and hilariously fucked. Do you have any headline recommendations for how to approach practicing building matrices and doing pairings for a team wholly new to the format?
Watch Enter the Matrix and the 5 and 8 man pairing review episodes that are up on YouTube.
So yeah, that's like a great way to learn the pairings. But the matrixing side specifically, I would say a lot of it is just like if you can't trust the information going to your matrices, they're useless, right?
Yeah.
So maybe to a degree, try and take the players out of the equation a little bit. Look at the statistics, look at the stats, look at like historical win rates for factions, things like that.
Yeah.
Just go into it with like you'll be less accurate than if you had your players doing it properly. But go and just look at the stats for what the Harlequins versus Tyranids win rate is, and just use that data instead of trying to get you guys to come up with their own. There will be nuance to it. You'll get it wrong by a little bit every time, but that will probably be more accurate than your players guessing badly. And then over time, with experience, you'll pick up better habits for doing it. Everybody sucks at matrixing when they start. Nobody gets it right. Nobody gets it right off the bat. Practice and discussing it with your teammates is probably the best one. If you're going to do a matrix, like as a team for like a 5v5 where you're doing like a practice scrim, jump in a Discord call with your team and just go through the lists, talk through the matrices, talk through like how you think the game will go. If you've got a faction expert of the other faction, back and forth it. What are you scared of? What's your win condition? What's your loss condition? How likely are those? And it's a lot more effort, but if you have people, if you're really trying to do it to get better, put more effort in, get more out of it.
And I'm going to share this just because this is somewhat relevant to it. If you want to reach out to me and I'm feeling like I have the time, I'm always willing to help teams get set up with the baseline, because historical data, while not perfect, will at least let you know if you're roughly in the appropriate ballpark, so to speak. And so you work with something like this, which actually will tell you historically how factions have paired into each other. And this is always probably the best starting point if you can't trust your own predictions.
What's the highest individual score in there?
I don't know. Let's do this. It'll be
I
easy to
don't
find
know.
it.
There's a 17 for Asuryani against White Scars.
There's an 18 for Black Templars into Sisters.
Yeah, that one's really funny. Because that's actually across 10 games. So it's a small data set, but it's also just like, how?
Why did you suck so much?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
It is interesting to see that the average like games are just around, like as somebody who doesn't play teams very often, it's interesting to see that most of the scores are around 8 to 12.
Yep.
Is what it
It's
seems
because
like.
over the course of a lot of games with a lot of varied metas, you compress the average, right? Because sometimes you're favored in a matchup, sometimes you're not. So if you have a lot of games that go one way or the other,
So this is just
matchups are
ARC's
very
data.
stringy. Yeah. But if you have a matchup that's like very 15-5, then either way, because it's a coin flip or things like that, it tends towards the middle. You'll also find that because this is based on singles data, not teams data, this doesn't account for people playing like cowards. So a matchup that is an 8 on the table, because if you try to win, you will probably lose and get an 8. It can often be a 10 matchup on the table, because if you try to play for a draw, you will get a draw.
Yep.
So it's difficult. It's always difficult to parse, but this is a great starting point, absolutely.
Yeah.
So if you want to just screenshot that and use that as your starting point, you're probably going to be better than people throwing darts in the dark.
Correct. Because obviously player experience and player knowledge of the matchup is the best thing to go off of, but sometimes you don't have that available. Like national teams will have it. Individual teams where it's a bunch of friends going to things. I've done this for other people who are like, I don't know what this matchup looks like at all. Is it something that I should be scared of? Like, should Harlequins be scared of Dark Angels? Yes.
Not anymore, but generally, sure.
I mean, it didn't really change things much.
Oh, it sure did.
Strength
They died
6.
out. It's great.
Well, yeah, but it's still rough. Anyways, that's just something quick that I wanted to share because it is something that you can actually build for yourself. Why have I not just made that a Joshua tab, Cliff? Because I like making myself useful to teams when they ask me these things. Because I don't want everyone to have it.
Innes, do you have any advice that was valuable or that you wish you knew before you captained Scotland for the first time at WC? My genuine suggestion for that would be we did an entire Enter the Matrix episode about Team Scotland, mostly focusing on last year. I would highly recommend if you really want to deep dive into what that was like, coming off of a team that didn't do that great, then I would recommend going checking that. The very brief cliff notes is I wish I had put more pressure on my guys to properly prepare. I wish I had trusted my players on their factions less and spent a bit more time dictating to them what they should have been playing, and just been like, no, you're really good at this, you're doing this, not letting them change what they're doing, because we had a bunch of people who just like flip-flopped and didn't commit, and trusting myself a little bit more in that process rather than putting the trust on the players because all of them were new to it, and I don't want to say hadn't earned it, but like weren't using the trust they had properly. Not to disparage my team at all, they were all great guys, but just like the composition of our team just ended up not working because of the way that we made changes. And then at the event being a little more in charge, I suppose, is the way to do it, because it's difficult when you're working with friends a lot to just be, your friends, you're doing things with your friends, you're on holiday, but I was there to be in charge and I maybe should have done that a little more. So that's something I'm still working on. I'm still trying to find that balance. It's difficult though. I don't know if I actually spoke about that in the Matrix, but that's a thing I'm looking at working on for going forward. And we did a better job of that Home Nations, and it bore out in our results. Captaining's hard, especially when it's for something with stakes, whatever the stakes of WTC are.
Mostly just pride, really, I suppose.
Juggerlord aside, the Art of War World Eaters unit tier list seems to be way too reasonable to be real. Anthony, blink twice if you need help disposing of the bodies. Anthony hated that tier list so much he's not here. I've not seen it. So
it looks weird. The only thing that I don't agree with is they put
a really great visual representation of exactly what nobody knows what's going on right now.
I know, but I'm just looking at it real quick. The only thing that seems odd is that
share?
Sure, I guess. Fine. Jesus. Talk about fucking needy. Jesus Christ.
There are like 45 people watching this live right now who have no idea what in God's green earth you're talking about.
I don't
and a
care.
bunch of people listening
Here.
definitely can.
Here's the tier list.
Defilers, Predators, and Mauler Fiends suck. and Forge Fiends. Hellbrutes, Morphines, Helldrakes, Lord of Skulls, Land Raider, Karn, Terminators kind of suck. Angron is perfectly balanced along with Jackals, Master Executions, and the Juggerlord, which seems interesting. If destroying Angron is balanced is optimistic. The Demon Prince, Rhinos, and one of the 8-bound are strong choices. And Berserkers, the other kind of 8-bound, Spawn and Invocatus are tournament staples. I would bounce the Rhino and the other 8-bound up one, and the Juggerlord up to strong choice and the Demon down. And then, that's it.
That's honestly the only changes I would say about it.
Yeah, Angron should probably be in more Butcher's Nails, please. But
I mean, when you have 21 data sheets, there's only so far you can go off.
It's true.
Your average. That seems high. Wow, I didn't think they'd have that many. If as many as GSC, that seems wrong. I mean, GSC have 13 character data sheets. It's not the same.
Yeah, that's.
No, it looks mostly fine. I don't have any strong feelings. Anthony's probably crying in a corner that the Juggerlord is below the Demon Prince, but whatever. If it makes Anthony upset, it's probably for the best.
I don't think I've ever actually seen a Demon Prince being played in a World Eaters list, to be fair.
I've definitely seen some people that I respect as unlist writers put them in there because they think it's fun. And that's about as far as I got.
There was a World Eater player at Gaunt Clash that brought 2 Demon Princes.
Oh, you did?
And no Invocatus?
No, he had Invocatus as well. Invocatus was his warlord.
Lord Avocado.
Look, man, if you don't take the avocado, what are you doing?
Probably playing Disciples.
Being able to buy houses. Everybody knows that.
that is really the true problem with millennials everywhere. Yes,
because millennials are running Lord Avocado instead of buying houses.
Instead of buying
games of 10th edition, will Innes need to be able to memorize 10th and share with the rest of us? I'm gonna try, guys. I can't promise I'm gonna be able to memorize 10th edition at Warhammer Fest. I will be doing my utmost. If they'll let me take a box away, I'll take a box away. We're gonna see what happens. They're not gonna let me do that, but I will try.
I mean, Brian might get a box with his
Brian
warlord.
Definitely, yeah. Brian's gonna have a box inside one of his Warhound Titans. I've used as basing for his Warhound Titan.
Just a Warhound, Brian. Just a Warhound.
I know.
Get that whole Imperator Titan. I don't think they actually sell one of those.
They definitely
whatever.
Maybe for Epic. Do you think the data slate changes will change the win rate percentages by affecting mid-tier players while keeping the upper tiers of performance about the same? No, because Dark Angels are going to drop off a cliff, which means the rest of the ecosystem will change around them. And some factions that were being held down by Dark Angels will go up a bit, and some factions that weren't will change.
Yeah. And if you go to and rewatch or listen to our deep dive last week, we actually looked at what the meta would look like if you actually just pulled the Gene Stealer called Iron Hands and Dark Angels straight out. And the reality is that the top armies remain the top and the bottom armies remain the bottom, and there's a little bit of shuffling in the middle.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. It's always just a shuffle around the middle. And the mid-table players, like, the meta there is a little less stagnant because a lot of it is down to player skill on individual armies a lot of the time, where making up the difference when you're less experienced on a better army can change a lot more, whereas sort of towards the top end that becomes less of a factor. It's always hard to judge these things. Do secondary changes and overall rule changes affect faction win rates for different player experience levels in different ways? Stats, guys, that's all you.
Haven't actually done a deep dive on that, but I can tell you from, at the very least, talking to and guiding players through rule changes and data slate changes and how to adapt your army to that, it definitely does affect it at different levels, because some better players tend to adapt much quicker to new metas than less skilled players.
Part of that is just because being a better player means you're better with skill sets that are 40k. Adapting is part of that skill set, right?
Exactly. And not only that, but also as a better player, you're also playing more games. So in terms of real time, you're generally just, the time that a less experienced player would play a game, you would have played 10 games. And so you've come to terms with what they came to terms with in their first game 9 games earlier.
Yep. Yeah, entirely fair. Hobby question: are there any Instagram or YouTube channels you follow for inspiration, or just because they're great?
Yes. There are quite a few. Off the top of my head, Rogue Hobbies, who just launched her channel. Absolutely fantastic content. Super glad to see that she's still making stuff, that she's still doing painting videos, that she's still getting her hobby out there. highly recommend you go check out her channel. If you don't know who she was a presenter for GW. She was part of the Only Hands debacle that went down where they stopped showing presenters in their paint
this
videos.
is Louise Stutton for anybody who's not sure.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah, she's set on her own now. She's doing her own little thing. Her first video was talking with the Rainbow Warriors, which was an absolutely hilarious and wild ride of the history of the Rainbow Warriors through 40K, while also going through a paint tutorial on how to paint up your own Rainbow Warriors. It was a gem to watch and listen to.
I watch a lot of conversion videos more than like painting videos. I don't really find painting videos that interesting, but seeing cool conversions always does it for me. I enjoy the converting part of the hobby a lot more than the painting part. I'm trying to remember what the guy does. There's a guy who does some really cool orc conversions that I like, but I can't remember his name.
I watch Juan San's El Miniaturista, which is a Spanish guy, I believe, who has an Instagram account. And he has a really amazing Patreon full of awesome tutorials. And then NRM Paint is another person who I follow on Instagram and on Patreon, who also puts out really awesome tutorials. There are a bunch of other people to follow as well. Legalize Mischief, which is Colin, last name not coming to my brain, who also does an amazing job of painting. I follow a fuck ton of Instagram Warhammer 40K artists. Rogue Hobbies is one that I follow. And I loved their Prismatic Swords tutorial on YouTube a bunch. That was great.
And I had it's called Kit Bosch. I highly recommend it. It's on YouTube. They do like really cool conversions by like they do things like growing parts to make them bigger, like stuff like that, which I've just never even remotely heard of before. Highly recommend. He also doesn't paint the models, which is just my favorite part. So it's just like just straight up he sprays it black at the end, and that's it. It's like I don't paint models. It's fine. Which is like he's my hero for that.
That's awesome.
Man, I follow
on
way
the
too many.
Yeah, I'm going through my Instagram right now. On the entertainment side, just if you want funny reels and whatnot, when you're looking for, cheer yourself up after a rough game, Fit Hammer is always really funny, and Cantina 13 makes hilarious reels of pop song parodies, almost exclusively having to deal with painting models or the lack thereof. And
one day we'll have a proper 40K skit-based channel. That's what I really want. Like
one day,
loading ready run for Magic. But
the one other one that I wanted to talk about is Baharoth, the Cry of Old Paint, who is painting
he's fantastic.
A completely recreated version of that throne room scene with Reboot Gilliman in it. And I just want to share a picture of it because I think it's just so damned amazing that I'm going to share it on my screen for people who are in chat, because I think this thing is amazing. Like, this is some nonsense. He built this.
Jesus.
And it's just, and is painting it with oils. It's absolutely just the most wild process to watch. That's all.
He does a lot of really cool conversions.
Actually ridiculous. And you should go and follow them, which I apparently don't do. And I'm going to follow them right now.
Fix that problem. Yeah, that's gorgeous.
Yeah.
I'm going to go actually follow him now as well.
Yeah. Like, it is probably the most over the top and ridiculous thing that I've ever seen in my entire life. It is also apparently the size of a toddler. Just putting it out there. It's huge.
Oh, yeah, there's a picture of him painting it as his pinned tweet. So highly recommend.
Yep. Honestly, go on Instagram and just like put in your army's like thing as a tag, and you will find all sorts of amazing artists on Instagram who are just looking for people to follow them, and a lot of people who put out amazing tutorials for you to watch if you like that sort of thing.
Instagram was just for pictures, was just for videos of women dancing.
That's TikTok.
Oh, okay. Are they not the same thing?
They're not.
Instagram is TikTok Reels a week later.
Got you.
That's true.
Usually with the TikTok watermark burned in.
Yeah, not even cut out. Just for the likes.
I think there was like one question from chat that was worth looking at. That was from McWarp. Do we think GSC 78% win rate is a problem? Nope.
It's 1 week.
I still maintain the position that I put in the Goonhammer roundtable, is that I will wait to see if Gene Stealer Colt are a problem when they become a problem with more than 12 people playing them. and I
And they
remain
never will be because there would never be more than 12 people playing them.
Yeah, I
'Cause
remain
there's only 13 characters in the codex.
I remain unconvinced that a faction that's play rate has never gotten higher than like a dozen people will be a problem.
Yeah. Now, they are a problem in that when you run into them, if you don't know what they do, they're a mindfuck.
Oh yeah, I play people at like the top level that have no idea what cults do. It's great. I also
Mhm.
watch people play cults, and I'm like, I don't know what you're doing. So there's levels to this.
We have an internal scrim going on right now, and the two GSC players paired into each other.
Yeah,
And they're just like,
chatted about that last week.
how do we...
How would you go about organizing and spreading the word of your event? I mostly just use Facebook to do it. Like you can generally, if you've got a decent set of like community groups that you're in that are for your local area, spam it a few times, like once when the event launches, once 3 months before, once a month before, and just like get the name out there. There's a bunch of places for most communities will have like an event calendar of some kind. I know for the UK, there's a UK event calendar on Facebook. There's also the UKTC event calendar. I'm guessing there's similar things for America and Canada. I know UTC for Goonhammer has one. ITC will put one on their website if you apply for a token and send them an email. That's one way to do it. The other one is just like speak to your local community people. So if you've got like your national team has a team page, has an event, has a page or anything like that, chuck it up there. Just drop them a message. Most people are pretty happy to advertise.
Become a friend of the Stat Check Show, and then we'll talk about your event
I
randomly.
really should plug my event on here some point. I'm not going
You
to,
should.
but I really
You should. Once
I mean,
you get
that's
closer
how-
to it.
That's
it's
how
in
we
like 3 weeks.
Oh,
that's
shit.
how we've plugged events like at all.
It's
Is that
like
people have
2 weeks
asked
on
us
Saturday.
Jesus.
like,
All right.
people have-
Innes, details about your event now.
Oh, yeah, I'm running an event in Scotland in 2 weeks on Friday, I guess. It's called Clan Wars Scottish Open 3. It's in Nightly Gaming in Bathgate. If you're interested, drop us a message on Facebook at Team Scotland 40K or drop me a message on Discord and I can send you the details. It's 5 rounds with a top cut for the top 2 players. I think I have like 14 tickets left, but I can theoretically go up to 200 people in the space. So, drop me a message. We're at like 50 just now.
just a few more.
We don't have a golden ticket because no events in Scotland have a golden ticket.
That feels like an oversight, but also a very targeted slight.
I mean, like, I'm not going to apply for one based on my history with GW. So, it is in Bathgate, so I do apologize for that. But Bathgate's pretty close to Edinburgh if anybody's interested in flying in. It'll be a cool event. It's a really cool venue. We're using WC Train.
But yeah, if you talk to us,
I'm gonna run a team event in November if anybody wants to come to that as well, same venue. But
Nice.
nobody knows about that now, so that's actually the announcement of that.
So what, like 2 weeks before GW Atlanta?
It'll be after GW Atlanta.
wise though.
Because San Diego is 2 weeks before GW Atlanta.
Oh no, right. We haven't talked about San Diego, have we?
No, we haven't.
Oh,
San
no.
Diego is 2 weeks before GW Atlanta. Then Coventry's the weekend after, and then GW Atlanta.
There's so much going on this
I'm
fall.
gonna have a busy November.
There's so much going on this fall, and I have no idea how to start planning for it.
Well, the simple answer is don't fly back to the UK for Coventry like I'm going to.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. Anthony's
Dennis
not
is
even
going to
gonna
become
come to
best friends with the airport security guys at Edinburgh.
all two sheep who manage that entrance
As long as I don't have to
will
go through
know in his
Heathrow again, I'll be
sight.
happy.
Fair
First of all,
reasonable.
Nathan, back off. Edinburgh Airport is lovely. You have to go to the Ryanair terminals.
Well, that's because Ryanair, if they could just tranquilize all of you and throw you in and stack you,
Pick and
would do
choose.
that.
I
if
could
they
pick and
get away
choose,
with
or
that.
I could go to San Diego, then Coventry, then Atlanta, Georgia, and that sounds way more fun. And then Bathgate.
When is the event in Atlanta again?
November 18th and 19th.
Okay,
That's the one.
just curious. I couldn't remember. Yeah, it's going to be a busy fall for the
We should
Stat
at some
Check
point probably announce the San Diego stuff. But
We
No.
should.
we should message Steve and get.
Yeah, let's talk to
because
him.
There's a whole bunch
There's
of
some
advertising we
background.
need to do for that.
There's some background stuff that you guys will get later if you pay attention to the Stat Check team. But also, if you want us,
plans, it's gonna be great.
yeah, we got a lot of plans. But if you guys want your event to be talked about or known by us, you should just let us know and we can talk.
I'm just going to
technically
drop
have
it
an
in there
event
because
tab
they've
that
already
just has
put
all
us
the
on their
stuff on it.
website, and we can talk
You
about
can't-
it more.
Oh, are we on the way?
Yeah, we're already on their website. So we'll talk more about this on a later show when we're getting closer to it. But some good friends of ours are running a massive tournament in California called the California Cup, and they approached us, and we are going to be helping them out with a bunch of things.
Oh, we are on their website. Cool.
Yeah,
we're going to be doing all sorts of stuff for them. So just watch that space and watch this space for more information about that space.
Oh yeah, the thing that yeah, it's already up. Cool. I had no idea.
I didn't know it was up there until I just went there. So
there's one last actual question from Contact Lost, which is how to do proper target priority when your opponent is playing the target saturation game.
I don't know. I play Iron Hands. Target priority is fake. Kill everything in line of sight. No. So the real answer is that you just have to make judgment calls, right?
Yeah.
You're going to assess very broadly deadliness, point scoring potential, closeness are like the three things that matter. And then you'll decide what order of priority that matters. If it doesn't matter that they're close to you, kill the deadly stuff. If it doesn't matter that they're deadly, kill the scoring stuff, right? Like you got to just work through that process. You will be making an evaluation in the game based on the current situation. The best way to do it, I would almost always default to scoriness until you get better at target priority. If you kill their scoring, you will probably win the game, as long as the other factors don't matter too much. But that's a target priority. Like it doesn't overrule. Like you're always going to have to make judgment calls about this. Unfortunately, there's no way to shortcut target priority. I like what Brian says. Panic and shoot the grots in the backfield.
I mean, you could just do what I did last weekend and just kill all the grots turn one.
Exactly. Kill everything in line of sight. Worry about the scoring later.
If you have Desolation Marines, just do whatever you want and win. Just pick up dice and throw them at your opponent.
Miss with all of them on twos on turn one. That's what I recommend.
You can also do that. Yes, you can do that.
Been there. Yeah, ease of killing also factors into that. Like, it's a whole thing. You're just gonna have to make your judgments. There is no shortcut to target priority.
Stop using averages to do it.
Yeah, it's always going to be one of those things that differentiates players, because there are a lot of things where you can just be like, you made a decision that was a mistake here, and there's a lot of things where you can be like, you made a decision that was a choice here, and you can discuss the merits of both options, but none of them are ever going to always be right. Target priority is one of those things where even top players will disagree significantly, because there is never a right answer. There is always just the answer that progresses the game state in a way that you're comfortable with. So play for, like, the easiest way to do it is play in a way that makes you comfortable. If having units close to you makes you uncomfortable, kill those ones first and figure out the rest later. If you're always worried about your opponent scoring, kill their scoring, let them charge you. Just play around it. It's a lot of where different approaches to the game differentiate is how you approach target priority when you have lots of choices.
Yep.
Yeah.
Something Alpine video. Yep, there is an Alpine video. It will be out tomorrow, UK. I will be uploading it in the morning, and then it will probably go live sometime around dinner time, UK time, which will be lunchtime, US. It will be on the YouTube channel for everybody who is a Patreon member at patreon.com/c/statcheck. For $5 a month, you'll get access to all the bonus content, including that video. It will be live for everybody else a week later. So a week tomorrow, which will be Wednesday, the somethingth of May. So start of May if you're looking for the Alpine video and you're not a Patreon member. But if you're not a Patreon member, why are you not a Patreon member? Come check it out. We don't bite, except Jeremy occasionally. And that's a threat. Right.
Consider it a promise.
You can consider it whatever you want. Right, guys, that's going to do it for us. Thank you so much to everybody for being here. I'm going to refer you back to the earlier blog section because I cannot be bothered. Thank you so much, everybody, for being with us. Hit like button, share, tell a friend. That's what I want you to do this week. Go and tell a friend that they should probably consider watching Stat Check, because if they don't, then if you're not watching the best 40k content out there right now, you could at least watch us.
We hope that you all have a lovely evening.
Good luck at any tournaments. If you're at Warhammer Fest, come and say hi. I would love to see you, and have a great weekend. Good luck at any tournaments.
Bye-bye.